This is my first video. This might be a little rough. This is just another PC handheld and an expensive one. It is not a Xbox console as it's kind of marketed as, and we're going to go over just some of the reasons why that is. But first, let's just get to kind of the design and the ergonomics, and the ergonomics are good. It has these big, huge grips on them, which I'm kind of indifferent about because one, it did let me kind of play Hades 2 for hours, and I generally do have some hand problems sometimes with my wrists and my hands in terms of hand pain. But this didn't really affect that much, even though this device is very heavy. But I really do wish they just kind of sold us a grip and kept this like a more slim device like the Ally X. I felt like that was probably the best version of the three Allies there are now. The face buttons are very loud. I don't like them at all. They're kind of hard to press in and they're very loud. They also have a weird red and pink hue to them, which is kind of odd in comparison to this all black device. And they're not Xbox buttons. They're just ROG Ally buttons. I feel like that's a missed opportunity there. The sticks are great. The sticks do remind me of actual Xbox sticks. That is the most Xbox thing I'd say about all the controls. The tension's great. I don't feel like they need to be modified in any way like the other Allies have in the past. The D-pad dish is not great. It feels a little too easy to actuate diagonals. I do get false diagonals sometimes, especially when I was playing like Silk Song or something like that. I really wish, in terms of all the controls, they would have just incorporated the Xbox Elite controls so you could swap the sticks or swap the D-pad. I really do think that would have been a nice change because even this dish is not really like the Xbox controller dish. It is kind of its own thing. It's the ROG dish. The triggers and bumpers are decent. I actually do like how long these bumpers are. It was very easy to just press it without moving my hand around. I do think they should be a little harder to press in. They're kind of like a mouse click. Other than that, I do like how long they are. The actual impulse triggers, or whatever they're calling them, they're just good triggers. They're just good analog triggers. They're not much different than anything else. I played Forza for about an hour, and I didn't really feel the rumble that is supposed to be in these impulse triggers, but they're good. I would have loved to see the hair trigger switch on the back, where you could just flick the switch, it would turn into a hair trigger. Generally, most games, that's what you want, especially shooters. Yeah, I don't understand why they couldn't have incorporated that, like the Legion Go S, for example. I don't like the finish on the front. It has this shiny lettering with ROG and Xbox. It just seems kind of tacky. Could have done away with that. Touching on the grips a bit more when I actually do hang on to the device, I find my ring fingers are kind of touching the back of the device. And I feel like if they were going to add these big grips, they should have just made them even bigger or add more space for your fingers to grip around the whole device, because I feel like it's just kind of in the way where my fingers would go underneath and grip the whole device. That's why I think this device just should have been really slim like the original Ally or the Ally X, and then add a grip or sell us a grip. Why not? People want slim devices to take with them. They don't want this huge thing that it's just kind of awkward. Talking about the performance is a little bit polarizing, I've noticed within the reviewers and everything I'm seeing online, different articles and stuff like that. It is better. It's, of course, better. It's as the Z2 Extreme versus the Z1 Extreme. It is like around 30% better if you try to push this thing to its limits. If you're playing a AAA game, 30 watts, you're going to get 10-ish more frames than the Z1 Extreme. Now, that's not really a lot on paper, especially with a VRR screen. You can kind of let that do the work instead of pushing this to the limit and buying the more expensive device. So I would not even recommend playing at 30 watts. I'd just be leaving it at 17 watts and letting the screen do the work. Either bump down the resolution to get the higher frame rates. There's a couple options there, but if you want to know like more about all the nitty gritty, about all the performance, the Fox, he did I think it was like an hour long YouTube video of every which way you could use the device and comparisons to the other ones. And you'll see that, yes, this is better, but the Z1 Extreme is still awesome for what it is, for what you would be using this for. So it's just not really worth the upgrade. One big thing that I did notice that this device has, which hasn't really been marketed, is that the speakers are amazing. The speakers are actually one of the biggest things I noticed about this over my original Ally that I have. It's funny that they market the impulse triggers as being kind of a part of the experience or whatever, but the speakers, if you turn them up, you can feel the sound, and it actually is a little bit more immersive compared to anything else about this device for improvements. I'm not sure where you would use the loud speakers, because if you're in bed, you're probably not playing it at full volume. If you're on a bus, you're probably not playing it through the speakers at all. So it's not something I'm going to be using a lot, but it was amazing once you turn it up. The fans are very quiet. I had this going at 30 watts, just booting up Forza, which is compiling a lot of shaders, and it got up to 80 degrees, which that was alarming. But I couldn't even hear the fans at all. There was no whine. They're just as good as my old Ally. That's something that ROG has really figured out, is the fan noise, and it's just as good in this one. Battery life is going to vary. If you are maxing this thing out at 30 watts, you're going to get 2 hours or 2.5 hours or 3, depending on the game. If you're playing at 17 watts and playing an indie, like, you're going to get way more than that. If you play indies at 10 watts, you're going to get 8 to 9 hours, something like that. I didn't do any emulation on this in particular. There's tons of videos out there, I'm sure, already for emulation testing, but I've done a lot of emulation on my original Ally, and I've gotten crazy battery life on that with the modded battery, the 74 watt hour battery. This is an 80 watt hour battery. It's going to be great if you don't push this thing to the limits. That's really not a concern anymore with these newer PC handhelds. One video I came across was about the controller latency. It was a video by Game Tech Talk, a fellow Canadian. He had the polling rate kind of averaged out around 609 for the whole controller, which is not great. He had the sticks at about 21 ms latency, and the buttons around 26 ms latency. He goes over it more than I'm going to talk about, but it's kind of weird that they didn't look at this before shipping the device. It's kind of important. The controllers that are connected to the device are not faster. So I didn't actually experience this in day-to-day gameplay, and I am susceptible to latency. I really do care about it. So it's not something to be worried about, but it is kind of weird that it's like another misstep for this whole device. I did do some local Moonlight streaming, and it's probably what you expect if you know what I'm talking about with an x86 device. It is under 1 ms, and it worked very well. Would have been nice to see Wi-Fi 7 in this device, just being brand new, but it's Wi-Fi 6E, and it's still very good, but it was no better than my original Ally. So, I mean, if you're into Moonlight streaming, you know that you don't really need an x86 device to stream your games locally on your network. Probably, if that's what you want, probably just get one of the newer Android Snapdragon devices, and that's all you're going to need. Just going over why this is not for console gamers. This is very much just another PC handheld with the Xbox button slapped on it. It's just an ROG ally. It's nothing to do with Xbox. Yeah, they give you Game Pass for 3 months premium. It's not even Game Pass Ultimate, which is already overpriced, and you don't get the day one releases or anything. But you can't plug in a drive to this and play your Xbox discs off this. This is not an Xbox. The Xbox full screen experience, I'm glad they're working on it. It's great that they actually sort of care about it, but it's weird that it's still buggy. It doesn't really add anything to the experience, in my opinion. It's if you stay in it, it ends up getting in your way. I ended up just not using it after just one day, and I waited for all the updates. It's up to date, and I was still running into weird issues where I'd wake up from sleep and it would not go into the Xbox full screen experience, or it wouldn't let me unlock it with the buttons, which is supposed to be one of the features. I had to type in my password, or the lock screen would be kind of pushed up a little bit. Just kind of odd bugs, and I'm happy that they're working on it. And maybe when they release their consoles in a couple of years, maybe it'll just be a PC and it'll be figured out by then. But it's just not really worth using for me right now. So actually, since I recorded that clip, there's been an article that has been put out by Windows Central, and they're just going over what Xbox's plan is for this whole next generation Xbox, and everything's an Xbox marketing. So now they're saying that the next Xbox is going to be a Windows PC in some capacity. So now the Xbox full screen experience app is actually just like a window into what the new consoles are going to look like, work like, hopefully work better. But now they're actually saying that you're going to be able to play your full console library from the Xbox Series S and X, which is interesting because that's what I feel like they should have started with in putting out an Xbox handheld. So maybe this is a bit of like a beta test for everyone, which is interesting to make your customers be beta tests for what they're marketing for the future. And then they're also saying that it's going to be more of a premium price tag, which we're already there. They've been doing that lately anyway. This ally in particular, no. Because in the future, by the time that all comes out, 2027, whatever it is, there's going to be way better options just available as a handheld PC. It's just not worth, like, you're not future proofing yourself for when Xbox is ready to give you that experience. So, yeah. One other thing I wanted to add is quality issues on this ROG Xbox Ally X. I haven't had any quality issues on my unit, but a lot of people are talking about squeaky right grip issues. They can put pressure on the right grip and it squeaks or creaks. Mine is totally solid. I haven't experienced anything like that. The other thing is like triggers. If triggers are coming out of, like, they're dislodging, I've seen that on Reddit a couple times. I haven't experienced any of that either. So my unit's good, but I would be weary of that if you're going to stick with this purchase. And, Asus's warranty policy is not the greatest, as you can probably look up and read horror stories about that. But maybe it will be fine. I don't know. But either way, hopefully you get it from Best Buy. I should also add that when you're setting it up, it takes kind of like hours to get set up. And it even tries to sell you Microsoft 365 for over $100. It's really just going through the normal Windows experience. The only difference is you can use the controller buttons to get through it. It's kind of a slap in the face, in my opinion. We really shouldn't be asking anyone to buy anything as soon as you boot up this brand new device that I spent almost $1,500 on Canadian. It's just a confusing partnership overall. And that kind of just takes it to what I think everyone should do is if you really need the Z2 Extreme chip for whatever reason, I guess you could buy this. But I really do just recommend buying the original Ally used on Marketplace or something like that, or finding a deal. Or if you can find the Ally X for a good deal. I think that's probably the best route unless you are okay with modding the original Ally. I put a new battery in this, a 74 watt hour battery, a lot of other things like Xbox Elite controls and stuff like that. I might do a video on this, but I'm sticking with this. I might buy some 3D grips just to snap on when I want to, but I'm definitely sticking with the cheaper Ally. I'm about $700-ish into this, and this was almost $1,500. Yeah, it's a little crazy.